Hey guys, what's going on? It's SpotTheOzzie here, coming at you on the 24th of May 2018 at 3:22 AM, because today was the premiere in Sydney of Solo, a Star Wars story, which obviously is the origin story of Han Solo, one of the most iconical characters from the Star Wars franchise. But before I do, let me cue a quick montage of me annoying people with a lightsaber, including my girlfriend.
Simmy Bear. Use the Force. Use the Force, Simmy Bear.
Guys, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Solo, a Star Wars movie, absolute ripper. I don't think they could have done a better job. It was such a masterpiece. And I'm not saying that because it's 3:37 AM and I've had minimal amounts of sleep. I'm a huge fanboy of Star Wars, but I don't think you have to be a fan of Star Wars to go and enjoy the movie as itself. I can't say the same about the other Star Wars movies because they're episodic. They're linear, but not necessarily have to be seen in that order. They're part of a bigger story. Whereas Han Solo, it's kind of like its own thing in a lot of ways. Yes, there's a lot of Easter eggs thrown out to us that we kind of see the origins of Han Solo. And you'd expect those, and the fanboys love that type of stuff. But it's one of those movies that's action-packed from the moment that you hit the ground all the way through the middle to the end. And I will say this about the original trilogy, is that when you go back and say, if you watch episode 4, for example, there's a lot of plot development at the early stage. I would say the first hour is pretty much a drawn-out build-up for the rest of the movie, where we didn't need that to happen in Solo, a Star Wars story. And they capitulated that perfectly, because you get thrown into the streets of Corellia, which is a ghetto. It's the slum of the slum, but it's evident that's the home planet of Han Solo, who hasn't had an opportunity to know anything else. And it's also another reason why he's become a hustler, because in order to survive that particular part of the universe and keep your head above the water, you need to keep one over someone else. You need to backstab, you need to betray. And that's what he's doing with his overlord, who he owes money to, but secretly he's trying to pocket a little bit of coin on his side so he can make a life for himself and get out of there with his partner Kira, who's played by Emilia Clarke. They end up getting caught in a little bit of a situation and separated as a matter of circumstance, and Han doesn't really have a choice. He's got to leave her behind, but he also has to think of a quick plan on his feet in order to get himself out of there. He's there, he's thinking on his feet, he's thinking about survival right now, and off to the corner of his eye he sees the Imperial Forces recruitment center, and he quickly makes his way over there, and he tells the recruiter, I want to sign up, I'm going to be a pilot. I'm not only going to be a pilot, I'm going to be the best pilot. And the recruiter goes to him, okay, what's your name? And my name's Han. And, what's your last name? I don't have one. And the recruiter's like, well, who do you belong to? Who are your people? Who's your family? And he's like, oh, I don't have any. So again, it's just a reminder or a reinstatement that this guy is really just a street rat fending for himself for survival out there. He doesn't really have anyone else to depend on. But this is the origin of him becoming into his destiny of being one of the best pilots known across the galaxy. So it's a cool throwback in so many different ways, because we get the origin of his actual name. It's not by birth, it's by situation. One thing I really want to address, because this was a big point for people wanting to boycott the movie altogether, and I will say, I felt that the numbers dwindled on the premiere night. I remember going back to episode 8 and 7 when they were released in the cinema. On the first night, it was a booked out VMAX cinema, which hosts about 150 people. When I went to see Solo, less than half capacity filled. And I know a lot of people had mixed feelings. A lot of the Star Wars fanboys were like, well, George Harrison isn't playing Solo, so I don't think it's going to be the real thing. It's not going to feel authentic. It's not going to feel genuine. And to that I say, go and see it, because Alden does such a good job portraying the character that is Han Solo in the later episodes of Star Wars. It's not so much a fact of, well, he looks like a younger version of George Harrison and therefore he is, but it's just so many other things to that. It's the way he carries himself, the mannerisms, the acting class. He is a convincing Han Solo. And I think it would be a little bit selfish to say, well, I don't think we should have a Star Wars movie based on the origins of Han Solo because we can't get a time machine and take George Harrison back a couple of decades and make him relive the character as he should have been played. I don't think there was anything wrong with the casting choice as Alden as Han Solo, or any of the cast for that matter, except for one person in particular, and that was Emilia Clarke as Kira. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. Was I wasn't convinced by Emilia Clarke. I felt like as someone who's A-list celebrity in Hollywood these days, given the Game of Thrones role that she's been thrown in the last couple of 5 to 6 years, this was another side movie that we were expecting big things from her, and I just wasn't convinced. I felt like I wasn't watching a movie when she was in the scene. I felt like they should have grabbed someone who was a little bit minor on the Hollywood scale of fame and fortune and just put her there to stay in the background and not so much played as big as a role as I felt that Emilia was trying to portray through the lens. One of the more magical things was just how well the story was tied together with all the references from the later episodes that we had in the Star Wars universe. And I felt like episode 7 had so many references throughout the movie. It was like one after the other after the other. Here's another Easter egg, and there's another thing, and here's the Millennium Falcon, and we just ended up turning the corner, and here's another throwback. And I felt like it was just overdone where there wasn't any substance. It didn't actually help the storyline at all. But in Solo, all the throwbacks, all the references, all the Easter eggs, all the things that we knew from the later movies just seemed to tie in perfectly with the movie plot, that it just kept it moving along. We weren't introduced unnecessary fillers just to get the fanboys out of their seat cheering and clapping and yeehaw and whatever else. It was done in a methodical substance way, and I love that about Solo. The examples were when he met Chewbacca down in the prison cell underground and he ends up breaking out with him in order to escape, or that one part of the plot where they need to transport a volatile substance from A to B, but time is of the essence. So that's when we're introduced to Lando and the Millennium Falcon. Something that caught me off guard, it's a bit of a ritual before I go and see any movie, is that I'll punch it in to have a look at the ratings that it's currently sitting at. And I wasn't expected many ratings to be of the presence at the moment because the movie had only been just released and the only people that would have critiqued it was the guys who would have got early access to the movie itself. But what I came across was the Star Wars Saga by Rotten Tomatoes score, and you'll notice it's sitting at an abysmal 71%. In fact, that score puts it within the prequel trilogy, that is episodes 1, 2, and 3. I think that's ridiculous. I really think this is one of the best Star Wars movies that's come out. In fact, I would put it up there with the original trilogy. I thought it was worth 4.5 Death Stars out of 5. I thought it was that good. I love the way that they even tied up the end there when they made it seem that Han Solo was seeking out Jabba the Hutt from Tatooine. In fact, I even loved when they put Darth Maul as a quick cameo at the end there, and I thought he was so underused in the first movie, in The Phantom Menace, and the way they quickly killed him off and he barely had a line or two of dialogue. The moral of the story is this: if you haven't seen Solo, the Star Wars story, go and see it in cinemas right now. Support it at the box office, because without that support, there's going to be a chance that we don't get another origin stories. And word on the street is they're going to look at working on Boba Fett's origin story next. If you like the fact that I'm doing a movie review, or this helped you make a decision whether you go and see Solo or not in the theaters, be sure to give it a like down below, because it actually helps me a lot more than you can possibly know. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Let me know down in the comment section below what was your favorite fan throwback from the movie itself, and let me know also what you think of the movie as well. I want to know if you've got similar feelings about what we saw on screen. Until next time, guys. Whoosh.